As we gather here in the midst of our Lenten journey, we are reminded that even though we realize that we are God's children, even though we realize that God has created us and made us His own, we are reminded that despite that, we can be a grumbling lot. We can be a people that is obstinate and sometimes even, sinful in the way in which we live out our lives. Today, as we listen, first in that first reading, and then in the letter that Paul wrote to the Romans, and in the psalm response, we are reminded about how we sometimes harden our own hearts. But despite that, despite our grumbling, despite our sinfulness, Paul reminds us, Jesus nonetheless decided to die for us. And this is indeed great news and reason for rejoicing in this springtime, this Lent time. But yet there's more good news, for indeed, as we listen to this telling of Jesus at the well and the woman who's with him, we are reminded that this good news is not just meant for a certain group of people who knew him, a certain group of people who have come to believe and have been following him, but this good news is meant for everyone. Even those that we would sometimes think don't belong or have foreign ways about them. Jesus tells us in this story that yes, even those that we have marginalized, he has come for. Now, this great news is important for us and important for everyone. But also, it does remind us in this story that even though Jesus came for all of us, he also sets out standards for us and expects us to live up to those standards. And then finally, in the story of the Samaritan woman, we see how once again Jesus uses the Samaritan to teach us all what our proper response is. For indeed, as the woman had this conversation with Christ, as Jesus revealed to her her own story, she immediately left and went and told others about Jesus. And we hear about how they came to listen for themselves to the Word of God and have believed. Our task as disciples of Christ is to go out and live our faith and to allow the good news to be broadcast by the way in which we live in this world, treating each other in justice and mercy and definitely in compassion.